So today I'm going to climb up on the roof and mount these solar panels. We took them down from the old location behind the outdoor kitchen here. I'm going to get them mounted to the southern facing roof, and that'll be the start of powering both the kitchen and the greenhouse from our solar panels. These are panels that we've had for about 5 years. They're the Harbor Freight kit. They're made by a company called Thunderbolt, and they're 18 volt, 25 watts each. So the 4 panels you get in the kit are for a 100 watt kit. It comes with the charge controller. It's actually a really good kit for the price. They still sell it. I believe the panels have been upgraded. They're a lot nicer than these, but these are all still running almost to their full peak, and it's been 5 years. We've used them in different areas of the property for different projects, but I think this will be their final resting place. So we'll bring these up on the roof. I'll start screwing them down, and then we'll move on to the next step.
So we're moving the wood cook stove today. Got my son and some of his friends to help us. And we'll show you when we get the process done. Okay, so the guys have their moving straps. They're gonna try to get this. We got it off the porch. Now we're getting it across the walkway and down to, you can step in that, that's fine.
Oh yeah,
Down to the driveway.
I'm crushing plants. What is?
Yep, there we go. All right, be back with you in a second.
Now that the solar panels are done and mounted up on the roof, I'm going to take the battery pack and the charge controller and the inverter, and I'm going to move all of that into the greenhouse. Once that's in there, then I just need to wire things up in a way that makes sense for using the kitchen and the greenhouse. And I'll show you what I have planned. I'll also show you the tub that I keep all of those components in. So this is the tote that I keep the batteries in. I also have the charge controller and the inverter in here. Just keeps things organized, and it also kept the majority of the weather off of this stuff. I had it all in an outdoor cabinet that had a roof on it, and the tote just helped to keep things from getting mice or bugs or even some moisture from getting that in there. All of this stuff is rated to be outdoors, but I just wanted to keep things neat. And this is kind of how I have it set up. Open this up. I have two 12-volt deep cycle batteries in there, and I've got those wired together in parallel, so I'm still running at 12 volts. I have an inverter here, so that if I need to use AC power, I can just flip this switch on, and you can see here the batteries are still at 12.6 volts. It would give me up to 750 watts peak power that can be used off of the receptacles here. I have a charge controller here in the front, and this is really what the solar panels plug into that help control the charge going into the batteries. It makes sure that they don't get overcharged. It also prevents the batteries from backfeeding into the solar panels at night. There's a couple of USB ports on it for charging cell phones, and there's some DC output on the front, and that's what I have the lights hooked up to. My DC lights that I use out here in the kitchen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewire this a little bit different, so that the on-off switch for the inverter is going to be mounted to one of the walls here in the kitchen. I'm also going to have the outlet coming from the inverter going to an actual outlet in the kitchen, a regular wall outlet. That way I can just plug in appliances as needed, and I can turn the inverter on and off from right near the outlet without having to go into the greenhouse, opening up the tub, and flipping this on-off switch here. Yeah, and it almost fit perfectly into this tub. It stuck up just a little bit, so I had to cut a square out of the lid here that fits right over the top of that inverter. So anyway, this keeps things nice and neat, and I can read the screens to see how much charge is in the battery, how much I'm getting out of my solar panels. It makes things very organized for me. Well, I finished the wiring. I've got the box with the controller, the inverter, and all the wirings, the battery and everything is down at the bottom shelf inside the greenhouse. And I have the wiring running out of the bottom of the greenhouse, up one of the legs here, across, and comes down to a double switch and a receptacle. And what I've done is I put the lights on this top switch, and that controls my solar lights. And then the second switch turns the inverter on, and that allows me to use these receptacles here for different tools while I'm in the greenhouse. That way I don't have to plug directly into the inverter. I can just use a receptacle. And then when I'm done, shut that off, and that just shuts off the inverter. I priced out some chimney toppers, and they're like $45, $50, and I didn't really care for the way they looked. So I made one out of some leftover stovepipe, a little bit of rat wire, and some leftover sheet metal. I just riveted the whole thing together. There's no welds or anything on this. I riveted in the rat wire there, just as kind of like a spark arrestor. Anyway, that's the last piece of the stovepipe. I'll put that up and we'll get this thing lit and we'll see how it runs.
So Steve's getting the topper onto the stovepipe, so that'll be the last piece there. So now that he has that going on, I'll give you a quick shot inside with all the metal up on the walls behind the stove. And this, back up a little bit here so you can see better. There is the stove in its new home. And this is a 1896 home comfort stove. And it has a lot of cool features. It has these warming areas up top where the stove goes up through, so things in there stay warm. It's a 6-burner. It's got a little rack on the side. On this side, this container used to be for boiling water, and that doesn't function for that anymore, but I'm sure we'll find a purpose for that. And then it's got a full oven, a full-size oven. And it's really, really very cool. So here's the little plate on it. Made in St. Louis, Missouri. And it's a home comfort brand. So we've had this for 5 or 6 years, waiting for the perfect place to put it. And like I said, now we have it in its new home, and we're gonna give it a happy place to live. So we're gonna try to get this started up, check the chimney, make sure we don't have any leaks or anything, and then it will be ready to go.
Well, it looks like it's chooching. Zoom that out. You know, despite it being in the 90s today, we've got the stove lit, but that's the beauty of it. We can do our canning or even cooking out here when it's hot and humid and not have to heat up the house. We can just light the stove here and either use the stove top or we can use the oven, either or. And we can also use the hot box here. We can either use this for raising bread or just keeping stuff warm. But this is going to be a great place to do canning, and also when we make our maple syrup in the spring. So that way, again, we're not heating up the house and getting things all steamy. But it looks good. We don't have any leaks. It's not getting super smoky in here. I wasn't too concerned with that because it's pretty much open anyway. You know, this just keeps the weather out and it keeps the stove dry. But as far as ventilation, there's plenty of that. But it doesn't look like we even need it. There's no smoke gathering up at the peak. Everything seems to be working good. So almost time to call this project done.
Well, here we are, pretty much at the end of this project. We've been able to hopefully share with you our journey of getting this outdoor kitchen complete. And yes, we still have some cosmetic things we want to do. We have some cleaning up to do, maybe some finishing off on some of the interior wall areas. But all in all, the building is up, the stove is in, the pipe is in, everything's been tested, and we're happy with where this stands for this year. Will we do something else to add on to it another time? Possibly. But at this point, it's for functionality, not necessarily to make it look really pretty. So with that in mind, keeping in your head that in our previous videos, we've talked about what was already here as far as the base this is built on, what pieces we've used that were reclaimed wood and reclaimed parts for the building, what we already owned. Steve's going to go over what we ended up spending for this project to let you know what it cost us out of pocket. for this.
Yep. And if you watched the previous videos, you know that we reclaimed a lot of the lumber, the screws, the nails, even the receptacle and light switch wiring. All of that stuff was things that we already had. So the only thing that we had to actually go out and buy to build the structure itself, and that includes getting the stove up and running, were 6 4x4 posts, 12 fir strips, 1 plastic corrugated roof piece, 3 metal corrugated roof pieces, and those are the panels that we have behind the stove, 2 24-inch black stovepipe, straight pipe, 1 stovepipe cap, 1 stovepipe T, 1 stovepipe elbow, and adding all that up, it comes to $262. So for $262.41, we were able to build the outdoor kitchen and get it to the point where it's functional. And until we actually use it a little bit, we won't really know what it needs. I think once we start using, we'll get a better feel for the layout and know where we want to put our wood box to keep our wood dry for the wood stove. Also any pots and pans or utensils that are going to be used out here, where would they best fall? But I think we'll learn that just through use.
Yep. Getting the outdoor kitchen set to use, especially during the summer, it's going to take some time. It's just like when you move into a new house and your kitchen is set up, deciding what drawer to put things in, what cabinet works best. Deciding what we're going to want to add out here. I know I'm probably going to want some kind of a tabletop, whether that may be something that is built in that can fold down, and when I need it, it can fold up with a leg that comes down, or if it's going to be something that's going to be mobile. We're not quite sure yet. We have a lot of options that we can do, but until, like Steve said, we get out here and really start doing projects and doing different types of things using the wood stove, we're not going to know exactly what we need. So as that goes on, we may share more of the little things that we do to make this a really functional for us space. And in the meantime, we're glad to have been able to share this journey along with you.
Yeah, and I know we have a couple of upcoming videos that we're already starting to work on that use this space. So if you want to see the stove in action, stay tuned for the next few videos, and you'll probably see the stove being used in those.
Yeah. So remember, if you have any questions or you have any ideas on things we may be able to utilize here, or projects that you've done where you've reclaimed wood or windows or things like that you'd like to share with us, we'd love to read your comments, so make sure you leave us a comment on that. And other than that, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy our videos and want to help us out, please like this video and subscribe. If you know someone who would like our videos, make sure to share, as this really helps our channel out. Again, thanks, and see you soon.